My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. We break down full UFC fight cards every single week, giving you our picks, predictions, our bets, and our fantasy plays. So make sure you like this video and subscribe so you don't miss any of our content. And if you want 50 free dollars, go to wewantpicks.com/bets. We have 5 different betting partners who all offer their own promotions, their own matches, and their own giveaways. And then on top of that, after you sign up and after you make a deposit, we send you $50 however you want it. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, wewantpicks.com/bets. Next up at UFC 275, we have Kyung Ho Kang taking on Batgerel Danaa. Kyung Ho Kang is 17-9 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, and he's coming off a loss to Rani Yahya, but that was after a 2-year layoff. Batgerel Danaa is 12-3 overall. He's 3-2 in his last 5, and he's coming off a knockout loss just 6 weeks ago. So not very long ago was he put out. Kyung Ho Kang's a well-rounded fighter who uses his range to keep you at distance when he wants, and then he works his range really well to set up takedowns and go from there. He averages about 2.5 takedowns per fight, and he has solid accuracy at 59%. He is primarily a grappler with top-heavy pressure and solid submissions. I mentioned he's coming back after that loss to Rani Yahya. He did not look great in that loss. He looked much older, much worn out than he actually is. But keep in mind, that was after a 2-year layoff. I'm assuming he worked out some of those cobwebs and he'll look like he did just a few years ago. Batgerel Danaa is a very good striker who comes forward with volume, speed, and power. His speed is his biggest asset. If you look at his striking differential, he lands about 2-1. So he's hitting you with 2 strikes and you're only hitting him with 1. He couples that speed with his power, and he's a legit threat on his feet. His takedown defense is just okay at 57%, but he does scramble really well to create openings and get back up. This is another interesting fight. 2 talented guys with very different paths to victory. Danaa has legit power and great speed, but honestly, he's first round or bust, at least in my opinion. Jacob and I argued about that, and we will again. I think he can be first round or bust. Kang has technical striking and solid grappling, but he can struggle if you pressure him. And I'm having a really hard time with this pick because I want to go Kang because of the grappling. But his last performance does worry me. He did not look very good in that fight. And Danaa actually showcased some of his own grappling in his last fight. So this one makes me really nervous, and I don't want to just only pick underdogs, but I think Kang can get it done. He's a durable guy. Even in that Yahya fight, he looked terrible, but he's a durable guy. I think Danaa gets frustrated, doesn't get the finish in the first round, and starts to really slow down and lose some of that speed. And I think Kang can take over. Not to mention, Danaa might be coming back a little too soon. I mean, he was just knocked out 6 weeks ago. That's not very long ago. He might be coming back just a little too soon, even though I don't think Kang is live for a knockout. But I think Kang might be able to grind out a win here. What do you think, Jakey boy?
I think this is a pretty good matchup for Danaa. I don't disagree with what you're saying about Kang. He is a durable guy. He doesn't really have the power. I think his last TKO KO was in 2011. Obviously, he had a little bit of layoff there, so that changes things a little bit. I mean, Rani Yahya was basically standing in front of him as a heavy bag, and he couldn't put away Yahya. I think he dropped him once, or like halfway dropped him once. So he does have somewhat of a little bit of power, but not like lights out Danaa type of power. And you mentioned the first round or bust. I don't disagree with that completely. But he is putting people away in the first round. That's why he's winning first round fights. He does have 3-round decision wins. He does have 3-round decision losses. He has second round finishes. In that last fight versus Chris Gutierrez, he looked fine in the second round. And Chris Gutierrez was a guy that was giving him issues because of the footwork. That guy was all over the place, right, left, and Danaa could not cut off the cage. He was just chasing him and chasing him and chasing him and throwing those power shots and throwing those power shots. And that actually is why he got knocked out, because he was chasing him a little bit too hard. Chris Gutierrez got a little bit ahead of him, and instead of cutting him off, he was chasing him, and Chris Gutierrez came with a spinning back fist. It was a knockout, but it was one of those like flash. He wasn't flatlined on his back. He got knocked down, got right back to his feet. And actually, right when they stopped it, he was back up, bouncing around like, damn it. I mean, it wasn't a bad stoppage. He was knocked out, but it wasn't like a unconscious. It was one of those little flashbang type situations. We'll see. Maybe it does affect his chin, but if you're going against somebody to test your chin, it's probably Kang that you want to fight, because he's not going to really test your chin too much. Kang isn't going to have the same footwork as Chris Gutierrez, and when you're standing in front of Danaa, which we saw Kang do against Rani Yahya. I mean, Rani Yahya was lighting him up at times. I mean, not like the whole fight, but he won that decision. A lot of it was with some takedowns, obviously with the grappling, but there were some striking exchanges where he was just standing in front of Rani Yahya. And if you do that same thing versus Danaa, you're going to get knocked out. So when I look at these guys, I see Danaa with the power. I don't see the same footwork in Kang that I saw with Chris Gutierrez. So I got to go with Danaa and that power. And as you mentioned too, there was at one point Chris Gutierrez, he got in a body lock situation. He literally just picked him up and just slammed him to the ground. The guy is so strong, so powerful. I didn't really see any cardio issues as it went to the second round. He was still trying to chase down Chris Gutierrez. So I got to go with Danaa with this. I don't disagree with your analysis again, but I'm going with Danaa and the power.
Yeah, I mean, it's another underdog pick with logic. These are fist fights. Anything can happen. And this one does worry me because we have two fighters. I think Kang has the more logical, easier path to victory, quite frankly. I think it's easier for Kang to get takedowns and grind out Danaa than it is for Danaa to stop Kang. With that being said, Danaa's the far more dangerous fighter. And it's always scary picking against somebody that dangerous. So I think it's a nail biter of a first round. And then after that, Danaa drops off steep. So I think Kang can survive, make it happen. I was hoping this would be a 1.5 round line, but it's not. It's 2.5. So I'm not even
going to take the over on that.
If it was 1.5, I'd take the over. I'm
looking at the under 2.5, and because obviously we're looking at the fight differently because from different sides. But I'm looking at the under 2.5 at -105 and thinking, here we go. That's interesting.
Well, and honestly, I don't think this fight is a war. I think whoever wins this fight looks like a massive favorite. Bagrai is going to knock Kang out and look like he should have been a -500 favorite, or Kang's just going to take him down and do whatever he wants with him.
And just wear it down, yeah.
Danaa's going to look useless.
It's probably and there's a few fights like this, probably the more boring the fight is, the more it favors Kang. But if there's those firefights, it's not going to be good.
No, exactly. It's definitely tricky. DraftKings, it's almost a pick 'em in DraftKings. We're talking $400 difference. That's not that big of a deal in DraftKings. So just pick your side. And honestly, Bagrai is probably one of the most valuable. I don't necessarily think he wins. $8,300. That's like the Tony Gravely line from last week. I mean, $8,300 for a guy that puts up the numbers that he does in a win. You can't necessarily go wrong with that. What do you think of that?
No, 100% agree. I don't disagree with the Kang side, but Danaa at $8,300, he's gonna be in my lineup. Yeah, I'll chase that first round finish for that value too. I mean, that's crazy.
Well, in the Monkey Knife Fight Strike Line, if you want to check that out, weonpicks.com/MKF. You can triple your money if you nail the strike line. If you like Kang to win, it's more. If you like Bagrai, it's less. It's that simple. I don't think there's anything more complicated than that. And if you want 50 free bucks, go to weonpicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit. Let us know after you do, and we send you 50 bucks. That's weonpicks.com/bets.